Welcome back. This is Monica Novak. I am just so excited to know that I had so many listeners for the first podcast. I've received so much love and support from so many of you, and I just want to thank all of you for listening and for wanting to hear more of my story. So I'm excited to get this one out. So for this episode, I really want to focus on finding love in all the wrong places, because I feel like a lot of us go through that. We go through traumas, and sometimes we don't even know we're dealing with a trauma, or we've dealt with trauma in our childhood, or currently sometimes we don't see it. And I know now, looking back, I was trying to find love in the wrong places. And I'm not necessarily saying that now it's a regret of mine, because it's not a regret. I've learned from all of my experiences. It's brought me to where I'm at now. But I know now that things that I've went through as a child and things that I feel like I didn't have are the reasons why I was trying to find love at such a young age. And so just to kind of give you a little history about my childhood, I was raised by a single father. My mom and dad, back when I was younger, they did heroin together. My mom was a prostitute, and I remember having to go to some of those hotel rooms with her. I remember having to stay at their drug dealer's house and watching them prepare all of that on the table. And I remember that like it was yesterday. And it's crazy because you would think that that would be something I don't remember. I had to have been only about 4 or 5 years old, but it stuck with me. And I feel like it's because it was a trauma for me. My brother, who is about, 5 years younger than me, he was born addicted to heroin. So the state automatically took him away when he didn't get to come home with us. He stayed in the hospital for about 3 months after birth, though, because he was born addicted. So he had to go through the withdrawal symptoms, and they had to make sure that he, got through that safely, and so he could survive. I remember, though, coming home with my mom and my dad after my brother was born into a hotel room. And my dad was so mad at her. He threw all of their needles and drugs and everything out of their bag and threw it all over the bathroom counter. And he screamed at my mom. I remember him grabbing my little sister, who's about 4 years younger than me. And he grabbed her and he grabbed me and he walked us out of the hotel room. And I remember walking to a payphone, and he called my grandma. And she came and picked us up, and I never saw my mom again. And I had to have been about 6 years old at that time. So I lived with my dad my entire childhood. My brother eventually was awarded back to my dad. He went through the steps to regain custody. But it wasn't, my dad loved us. I don't want to say that he didn't love us. He loved us, and he made sure we had food to eat and we were clothed. Our clothes were always ironed. Our house was always clean. We were really poor growing up, though. We had Section 8 housing, and food stamps. And we didn't have a whole lot of anything. Everything was hand-me-downs. So we were extremely poor. But my dad drank a little bit, and at a young age, I really don't know. I don't really know if that's bad or if that's good. But as I got older, his drinking got worse. And I remember getting embarrassed, like when he would drive with, a beer in the car. I would look over at the vehicles next to me and wonder if they can see inside. And my dad just became really abusive, but not towards my sister and I. He was only abusive towards my brother. I mean, the abuse was so bad that when I think about it, it still chokes me up. And this was when my brother was from the age of 3 to about 10 or 11. It might have even been 2, is when my dad became really physical with him. I mean, he would hit him so hard with the belt, and he wouldn't even care about what part of the body he was aiming for. So all I can remember is the look on my brother's face. He was scared. He was crying. He was in tears. He would beg my dad to stop. I remember so many times we lived in a 2-story condo, and my dad would be on the bottom of the stairs and my brother would be up top. And he would call for him to come downstairs because he was mad at him for whatever reason. I mean, it was the most ridiculous reasons why he would get in trouble. I mean, you could have folded the towel wrong. And my brother would stand from at the top of the stairs looking down at my dad and just beg for him not to hit him. And he would go one step at a time, as slow as he could, in tears, just begging. And I would be at the bottom of the stairs looking up and just so scared about what I was going to see. And that was tough. That was very tough to see. And my brother, he would go to school with bruises and marks all over his body, and nobody would do anything about it. So we lived like that for a very long time. And the drugs didn't happen in my home anymore, but the alcohol was a big problem. And I remember when I was getting to be a little bit older, in my teens, I would ask my dad if I could, polish my nails. All the girls were doing it. If I could wear hairspray. I just wanted to fit in. And my dad would never let me do anything that the little girls were doing. I used to have this friend, and she was like my best friend in elementary school, and I was never allowed to go to her house, or I wasn't allowed to go to birthday parties because my dad didn't work, so he didn't have money to buy a gift, was his excuse. But I didn't have any friends. I didn't have a mom growing up. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. I wasn't allowed to do the things that girls do. I lived in this home where my dad would drink and my brother would get abused. And I know that that's why I probably was looking for love in the wrong places. I wanted to feel the love of a mother. I wanted to feel some sort of affection, feel wanted. I wanted to feel like I was part of a group. And I didn't have any of that. like I said, growing up, we were really poor. Um, so my dad would figure it out. How was he going to get his alcohol? Well, he would always ask my grandparents for money. If we got something for Christmas, he would take it back and get the cash for it. Or back when I was younger, the food stamps came in actual paper form. So if you went and bought something, you could actually get real change. So we were sent into the store with $1, and we would always go in and only allowed to get a piece of gum or candy, no more than 25 cents, and we would have to bring him the change. And we would actually go in and out of the store multiple times within a few minutes. And I know the cashiers were just raising eyebrows, like, what are they doing? But that's what we did. But for a moment, we were like, yeah, we're getting a piece of candy. But as you got older, that doesn't seem so cool. It's more embarrassing than anything. So we never had money growing up. So finally, when I was at an age where I could work, I was excited because I would get a few extra dollars in my pocket. Although my dad would make me give him pretty much all of my check so that he could drink. So I really still didn't have much money growing up, but I turned 16. So I got my first job at Fry's, and I was excited because it got me out of the house. It got me away from the chaos, from my dad's drinking, and I loved it. I loved my job there. I was a courtesy clerk, and it's where I met someone, and we're just going to call him Jack. And I met Jack there, and being around him was fun. It was a lot of fun. We would hang out. That's where I would got into smoking weed, and I would ditch school every now and then to hang out with him. And here is this feeling of fun and comfort that I've never felt before. And this was something that I had been missing. It took every worry away from being home, hanging out with him. I forgot about all the dysfunction of my home. It felt good. See, when I talk about finding love in all the wrong places, I'm talking about how I was trying to find love with my friends, with a guy, and they weren't exactly fulfilling the void that I really needed, and that was to really just kind of love myself. I wanted to feel cool. I wanted to feel like I was part of a group. And I forgot about me. I forgot about how important I was. But I was also young. I was 16 years old. When I say finding love in all the wrong places, I